Welcome back. The Defense Industrial Base knows the incoming president and his team very well. Arnold Panaro, the chair of the board of the National Defense Industrial Association, told Government Matters Wednesday Joe Biden's well known to the defense industry and the national security community. You can see that conversation at govmatters.tv. Frank Kendall was Undersecretary of Defense for Acquisition, Technology, and Logistics in the Obama administration. He's now a senior fellow at the Center for American Progress. Frank, thanks very much for coming on the program. Anything that the defense industry should watch or be ready for in a Biden administration, Frank?
I think that there'll be less radical change than some people have expressed concerns about. There's a very experienced team that's available to President-elect Biden, and I think he'll have very highly competent people supporting him. And I think they understand very well the threats to this nation and the needs that national security imposes on us, and they'll act accordingly. So I think there'll be less radical change than some people have expressed concerns about. I do think there'll be movements and directions to do things that are more effective to counter some of the threats. And I think there'll be more emphasis on our alliances, on our partners in the world, and working more closely with them, and frankly, treating them with more respect than they've been treated with in the last few years.
Does that emphasis on alliances and allies around the world mean anything different for the defense industrial base? Will there be more opportunities for them to sell to our partners and allies, Frank?
I want to make sure I'm clear that I'm speaking only for myself, so I'm
Correct.
offering just my opinion here. Right?
Understood, Frank. Thank you.
I don't have any association with the transition. I think that there are things that cut both ways there. Okay, I think there will be a desire to work more closely with allies. I think there'll be a desire to engage in more cooperative activities, including things that are involved with equipping and technology and so on. But I also think there's a strong desire to benefit the American economy and to promote things that will help the economy. The administration will enter office with a long list of problems, and very high on that list are going to be COVID, the economy, getting people back to work, growing the economy, racial injustice, climate change, and then national security. So there's a lot on the list, and they're all very important to the country. The right balance will have to be struck there somehow, but part of it will be working closely with our allies. Part of it will be ensuring that they're equipped to do their part in terms of national security, our shared security interest. And also at the same time, there'll be an interest in, I think, preserving jobs in the United States and creating more jobs in the United States.
You note that correctly, I agree with your assessment that the Biden transition team and the people who will likely populate the Pentagon in that administration are very experienced. They've been there before. And because of that, Frank, it strikes me the threat landscape, at least as the Biden administration perceives it, not likely to be dramatically different than the threat landscape the way the Trump administration or the Obama administration perceived it. It really is Russia, China, and the other adversaries that we've talked about at great length on this program.
No, it's the same list that we had when we were in the Obama administration. Secretary Carter was very clear about this in the last budget we submitted. So the shift to what's now referred to as great power competition started prior to Trump. The national defense strategy that he put out, in terms of the threat piece of it at least, is something I think people on both sides should agree about. So I don't think you'll see a great change there. There's a good perception and good understanding of what those threats mean and how important they are, and also their priorities. The thing that's going to be different, I think, as I said, is greater reliance on our partnerships around the world and a more even-handed approach, which uses diplomacy and other tools and not just the military or the threat of the military as its principal means of engaging.
It strikes me one potential benefit to the defense industrial base is just knowing specifically in individual jobs who they'll be dealing with over an extended period of time. I talked to one leader at a defense contractor this week, Frank, who said, I'm just going to be glad to see that there won't be this long list of actings inside the department. What's the significance of that for the defense industrial base, do you think, Frank?
I think it's really important to have professionals come into a lot of these jobs. I remember going back to the 90s when Bill Perry insisted that the acquisition executives in each of the services be competent people who understand, the business of delivering new products to the military. I think that's important. I think professionalism matters, competence matters a great deal, and people should have a background that really prepares them for the jobs that they undertake. It's not really fair to them. It's not fair to the country to have people come in who aren't up to the jobs. And as you said, there's a deep bench out there for Biden to pick from. 8 years of the Obama administration gave us a chance to grow an awful lot of people and prepare them for greater responsibility. And I think many of those people are anxious and interested in coming back in. So I think it'll be, he'll have a lot of good choices to make, I think, in terms of people that want to enter the government.
Any significant changes that you expect regarding acquisition, given the fact that composition in Congress didn't really change much as a result of this election, and so the influences that we'll see in mechanisms like the National Defense Authorization Act in coming years are not likely to change too much?
Well, we'll see. My views on splitting AT&L, for example, have been well known for a long time. I think it's a pretty widely shared belief right now that it was a mistake to split AT&L. Whether the Congress is ready to address that or not, I'm not sure. I do think that there are some things that could be done less than that would probably be an improvement, certainly in the current situation. And I'm hopeful that the next administration will be able to work with the Congress on those. The one thing that I fundamentally objected to about the split was that it split part of the life cycle of a new product away from the rest of the cycle. Getting the engineering function into A&S, I think, would be a smart move, and have it clear that the entirety of a life cycle is under one undersecretary. Science and technology and experimentation can stay under the research and engineering side. The other thing is all the delegation of programs. I'm concerned that a lot of the programs that were started under the Trump administration were set up for failure, or at least not to deliver the products that users are going to be happy with. So I think somebody needs to come in and review those and take a hard look at them, and not necessarily stop them, but make sure that they're on track. And I'm seeing increasing signs as I look at various programs that people are not getting what they expected, and they're not going to get it as quickly as they expected. So some repair work is going to be necessary.
Frank Kendall, thank you very much. As always, great to have you back.
Good to be with you. Thanks, Francis.